Here on the Safe Haven podcast, any names mentioned should not be considered as suspects unless officially stated as such by law enforcement. Any opinions during interviews on this podcast are the opinions of the interviewee and don't reflect the opinions of the Safe Haven podcast or the AMU cold case team. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Welcome to this episode of Safe Haven. You are here again with me, Justin, and Melissa, my esteemed co-host, and of course, we have Jen with us this time, who is also an esteemed co-host in this situation. So, ladies, how are you guys doing today?
Doing well. We are excited to record this episode to talk about our time when we were there in Parkersburg. We've had some time to look back and digest everything. It was a very productive trip.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, very, very productive.
And thanks for having me on, you guys, to talk about some of that. So.
Always.
Well, thanks for joining us. Sure. Well, you had a full day, so I'm glad you carved out a little bit of time for us.
It's been an interesting day. Someday listeners will learn more about it, probably. But it's been a good day.
That's all right. Yeah. You two had gotten to Parkersburg a couple days before me. I was not able to go until Sunday. So why don't you go ahead and take us through, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
Melissa,
yeah, of course.
You were there. Melissa got there Thursday, and I got there Friday. So
yes.
Okay.
So I can talk about Thursday.
What day did I arrive? I arrived on Friday. Thursday. No, Wednesday.
Yes.
So I got in Parkersburg on Wednesday afternoon, and all day Thursday I spent with Doug Sturm, who's the investigator on Judy's case. And all day Thursday was really interesting. It was the first time I met Doug in person. Very nice guy. He was very welcoming of me and the whole team. And so we actually spent the whole day together going over Judy's case. And then we actually got an opportunity to re-interview the whole family. So what we did was, for listeners, we wanted to start this investigation like we did in September from square one. Redo it all. So we started with the family, just because in an investigation, you want to start with those closest to the victim and work our way out. So we brought in Mr. Petty, we brought in Sister Kelly, Wanda, and Cheryl, and we had an opportunity to re-interview them, get like we would have back in 2008 or should have done back in 2008. We really spent a lot of time going through the details, the specific details, in regards to Judy and her movements the day before and the day of February 6th. So I was just so, I think, taken away and honored that Doug allowed me to sit in these interviews with him. So I remember texting you all, but I felt like I was on the first 48. I was super excited about it. It was like crazy. For listeners, I was able to sit in the interview, and Doug allowed me to ask questions when I had them. And then at the end of each interview, he would ask if I had anything further. And so I really felt like this is just an amazing opportunity. We have something really special here with Doug in the sense of him working side by side with us.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, I had my reservations about the guy. I'm always cautious about that kind of thing. And it's just my upbringing, my nature, that's just how it is. And I love the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we sat there and talked with him, and he was a straight shooter. He was honest. I don't know, I have a lot of respect for him, and I didn't realize, I guess, how serious he was about working with us until actually being there in the same room. And I was like, okay, this dude is 100% on board. He's serious. The prosecutor was in there for a little bit talking to us about some stuff, and I asked him a few questions, and it was just a really good experience for me personally, because I got to see the other side and got to see, like, he really is dead serious about working with us and exchanging information and ideas and theories. And I can't say enough how I enjoyed the time there. And of course, I got to go see Marvin, hang out with Marvin for a little bit, and me and him had some fun.
Yes.
And talk to Joan. I got to get one of those sweet hugs from Joan, which those things, that woman's hugs melt my soul.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it was very nice, but I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit because you guys were there a lot longer than me, and the good thing that I really enjoyed was the fact that Doug went over to the Petty's house with us on Monday morning. He answered all their questions while we were answering their questions, and he didn't sugarcoat anything. He told them exactly what he thought, and he's very open to hear what everybody else has to say too. So it was just, for me, a good experience all the way around.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
George and I have worked a few cases together now, and we've always been able to get a meeting with the investigating authority or the detective on the case for an hour or two. That's it. And Doug literally cleared 3 out of the 4 days of his schedule that we were in town, and pretty much was by our side. I mean, all the way through dinner every night. I've never experienced that before, but I don't have the right words to describe like how happy and content it makes me that we finally have an investigating authority that understands the value that we bring and is willing to work with us. And it's successful.
And he was very complimentary about us too. I mean, when we were sitting there at dinner, I think it was Monday night or Sunday night, I believe. No, it was Monday night. Of course, at an Applebee's. I love it.
Yeah.
And we're
And
we're all sitting there. Well, I mean, I love Applebee's.
Me too.
People throw
Really?
shade on it all the
No,
time,
I
but
love
I
it.
love Apple. I've never had a bad meal there, and everybody just throws shade on Applebee's, and I'm like, you know what? I love the place,
too.
man. I do. But it was great because we were all sitting there, and I did not expect it. He goes, "You guys have put more hours than our office can put into this. You guys have done so much work." He's very complimentary, I guess you could say, and that also surprised me. So
Yeah.
I was, we were just kind of sitting there, and me and Doug are on the same page about, we're both about percentages and plausibility in certain scenarios, and we definitely agree on that. And it's one of those things I've always gotten a lot of shit for, because you have plausible scenarios that have a higher percentage than others, and it's like you have to work those percentages.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, let's go, dude. You are right on the same page as me. We do see eye to eye on that when doing investigations or looking into different scenarios. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like I said, I came away with a different attitude towards him and towards the prosecutor's office, and it was definitely for the better, because I'm so cautious about that. I was like, man, these guys are gonna we're civilians showing up, all this and that. Yeah, I walked away definitely with a different mindset
Well, yeah.
than what I got there.
Justin, in your past experience with other investigations you've tackled through, your side volunteer work and podcasting and everything, I mean, have you encountered any other law enforcement agency like this where you had the same level of relationship?
Not agency-wise, personnel-wise,
Okay.
yes. Personnel-wise, there are some people who are more willing to work with outside help than others, but as an agency in a whole, absolutely not. I did have the law enforcement that I did work with on a lot of my Lawton, Oklahoma stuff. They chose to remain anonymous, and that was for very good reason.
Yeah.
And I totally respect that. But they also helped out a lot behind the scenes, and that person's boss knew what was going on, what they were doing, what we were doing together with the investigation, and they were all for it, but they did not want to be involved. They didn't want name dropped. They didn't want their law enforcement agency dropped, anything like that. So to an extent, yes,
Okay.
but for the most part, no. Not an entire agency like the prosecutor's office, who, I mean, they let us into the police department right up to the third floor. And we're sitting here watching a video of, we won't say too much about it, but we're watching Chris Cutright get interviewed again.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're just sitting there with detectives, and they're watching the video with us and giving us input, and it was nice. It was a breath of fresh air for me.
For sure.
Because, you don't see that very often. And, maybe in the future there will be more possibilities like this, and I hope that's the case. But this was somewhat rare of an occasion for me personally. What about you, Jen?
Yeah, same, 100%. I mean, I've never had this level of agreement or cooperation with any law enforcement agency out of the, I'll include this case, but out of the other 3 cases, the 4 cases total that me and George, along with you guys, have tackled. Like I said, usually we can get a meeting if we're in town. That's about it. In some cases, that's fine. You know, I don't mind there being a one-way road with the investigating authority for a while, because we like to start fresh anyways, and I don't mind not having the case file in the beginning. I prefer to just start, you know, let's figure out what the actual facts of this case are, and, you know, send information and expert analysis and new interviews with people and stuff to police, and that's fine. But at some point, there's got to be, I don't know, a situation where they start sharing, because otherwise it's like, well, are we being helpful to you? Are we hurting you? Are we, you know, we need some feedback here. And then there comes a point where there's just some details me and George just can't get on our own. I mean, with Doug, I mean, we're literally like, well, we would like to interview this person, and he's literally looking up on his databases where they live for us. You know, we could probably figure that out, but it would take us 10 times longer. And it was just so nice to have him right there by our side helping. And so, yeah.
Going on that, I think Doug gets it. You know, he's like, you guys have the ability to put X amount of hours into a case. And he said something when we were sitting there at dinner, and he said, he goes, here's the deal. Like, we get a case and we have maybe 3 days before another one comes in.
Sure.
And he goes, we can't concentrate the amount of hours that you guys concentrate on one single case. And he goes, that's where you have us, because we can still help, we can still do all this stuff for you legally, everything like that, but you guys have put in the hours that we don't have. He goes, we don't have the time and resources to put into like one case like this. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It was perfect sense, but I loved his honesty about it.
Yeah.
Right.
He was very open and honest about that.
And this is
especially like, a cold case, you know what I mean? Like, I think too, right now we all know that Gretchen Fleming is the big, you know, case right now going on in Parkersburg, and the manpower that takes to focus on trying to find her. You know, we can focus on Judy, and I know there was a lot of conversation, or, you know, that Gretchen's search interfered with, you know, Judy's benefit that we were holding to increase the reward fund. And that just isn't the case. Parkersburg PD did not set up this search for Gretchen. It was an outside organization. They were in charge of, you know, the logistics of the search, but it had nothing to do with, because Safe Haven's holding something for Judy Petty, that all of a sudden Gretchen has a search party. And as we've talked about, both cases deserve the attention that they're getting. We even wanted to go volunteer to go help look for Gretchen if it wasn't at the same time that our benefit for Judy was. But both cases can require people. Some people could go to Gretchen's, and then other people, based on the conditions, could go to Judy's. I mean, there's plenty of people. We're not trying to fight for who gets more attention. Where I think I was coming from for Judy's case is that this is a cold case. It's 2008. So when they have all of these other current, more recent cases, they're having to, you know, work those and focus on those. Whereas we can kind of say, let us help do what we do for an older case, and then bring it to you. And Doug follows up on everything I bring him. I mean, everything I bring him, he will look into for me. So I think that's just an amazing partnership that we have, you know, with him. And so, you know, kind of getting back to on Thursday, you know, we met, and like I said, we interviewed the family. I know there's a lot of people, our listeners, who have asked, you know, is somebody in the family? It's pretty close. And, you know, we can say when we walked away, the family at this point isn't high up on the list of people that we're interested in. We were able to get a lot of questions answered, a lot of details that we just didn't have from the case file answered. And so when you have, you know, 2 people asking questions in a room and trying to, you know, just basically start from the ground up, you're able to actually move people in that line of on the list or kind of lower down. And so I will say Mr. and Mrs. Petty came down to the police station again. I'm going to say that it was extremely difficult for both of them. And Mr. Petty sat in an interview room with us, or with Doug, for over an hour, answering questions. And, you know, he was not well at all. You could hear the man coughing through the whole police department. And Mrs. Petty showed up as well to ask, and be interviewed. And again, these people are, in their 80s and they're still fighting. So, I just want to make note that, again, Mr. Petty was very sick, and yet he refused to sit home.
He went to the hospital, for the listeners who do not know. He went to the hospital the day after we left.
Yes.
And he was in there for, I believe, 3 days. He was fighting, I think it was congestive heart failure, infection. And I tell you what, man, God bless Kelly. I was talking to her a little bit, and I just told her, I was like, your old man is just a tough old dude, man. And she's like, yeah, he's getting out today. And I'm just, I don't know, I'm in awe of that guy. I just have so much respect for him because he just doesn't stop. He just keeps going.
He doesn't. So, I think after Thursday, literally, we were interviewing from 8 to 4 nonstop. It was back to back to back back. And, I kind of joked with Doug. I'm like, are you like waiting for me to leave now? Because I'm just making you work. We didn't even take lunch, the poor guy. I think I let him have like one bathroom break. But so we interviewed from 8 to 4. And then I went and got Jen at the airport on Friday, right, Jen?
Yeah, Friday.
I'm so confused on my days. So I picked up right
You
after
actually
work.
do interviews Friday, but it's okay.
Oh, for Pete's sake. See, I don't even know. What did I say? Thursday?
Thursday. It's okay.
Yep.
Look at that. I don't know what days.
I will say this, one of the funniest parts when we were sitting in there Monday with Doug, and we literally, for the listeners, we had a dry erase board, and we wrote down all this information, times, what was inconsistencies in different stories, and we actually had a printed out satellite map that was probably, I don't know, 3x3 or 2x2. I mean, it was nice sized.
3x3.
And we sat in there with Doug and just plotted all this out and looked at everything. And one thing Doug said, we were sitting there and it was towards the end, and he just looks at us and he goes, you guys chose the hardest case in this county, man.
Yep.
He's like, I don't know how you chose it, but he goes, you chose the hardest one.
He said that to me all day Thursday or Friday. Yeah. So it was, and that's just cool. We'll talk about our time with him there, but that's what I mean. It was all day Friday just hanging with him, and it was really interesting. He introduced me to everybody and just was very welcoming. And I just kept, I think, texting saying, this is just amazing opportunity. And so, for him to include us like that, when obviously that didn't have to happen, it was really neat. So then I went and got you, Jen, and then I probably talked to Mile a minute when I picked you up on the way back.
There was a ton to talk about. And what did we do? We went and got some dinner, I think. And then George got in late that night. Right?
Yes.
And of course,
Yes.
Then we stay up till like 2 a.m. or whatever it was.
But that's what's
help
funny.
ourselves when we're around each other. It's just like yakking. And not yakking. I mean, we're talking case stuff. We talked Judy's
right.
case for 4 hours that night,
Right,
after George was into town. But,
right. We were talking about it. And what's so
Yeah.
funny is me and Jen, and we look, it's like 12:30. Of course, there's wine being had. So we're talking, it's like 12:30, and all of a sudden we look, and it's like 2:30 in the morning, and we're going, where did the time go, George? It's your fault. And it was like, we have to get up early. So we kicked him out. Yeah, no.
It was about like that on Monday night,
was
too,
almost
when we
every
all
night.
went back.
Yeah, almost every
The
night.
thing is, when you only have 4 days on the ground, you cram so much in, you don't have time during the day to like process it or really talk to each other through much of it. And so at night, back at the room is really the only time we had, to talk about the day. And like, we still had to figure out, okay, what are we doing tomorrow? Because 3 days packed. I think some people think solving a cold case is like, you go somewhere a couple of days and you kind of meander around the town and you figure it out. Let me tell you, the schedule is grueling. I mean,
it is not a TV show.
No.
I will tell you that much.
Not at all.
Because I got there later, and I mean, we were at it straight up Monday morning.
Yep.
And it was like, my schedule is a lot different from Jen and Melissa's because I'm a second shift guy. So I don't even get home from work until 11:30 or midnight. And it's like I'm up till 4 o'clock in the morning, and I get into Parkersburg, I think it was Sunday night, probably around 8:30, and I was starving, so it's like, let's go get some food. And of course, me and George go on tangents about other stuff for a long time. And Jen is like, okay, let's wrap it up. We're leaving. Like, but it was productive though, because even though we're sitting in a hotel room, because we went back to the hotel room and we're all just chilling in the same room and we're just drinking a little bit of wine and hanging out, but the conversations that we had while we were there were very just insightful. Everybody is bouncing ideas off of each other. And that's what I enjoyed that quite a bit, because we're all just talking back and forth and bouncing ideas and theories and stuff. And we were all getting ready for, Monday morning. So me being on my shift, I'm like, yeah, I'm good to go until like 4 or 5 in the morning, dude. But it's like, I got to be up at 9 tomorrow, So it's like,
I'm already in my pajamas. Like, what's going on? It's way past my bed. 2:30 in the morning is a killer for me. But so it was good. We go into Saturday.
Got in Friday night, and then George and I had arranged a presentation at the library on Emerson Avenue, which was probably the most appropriate place for a presentation, because that's the last place in theory that Judy was seen. Well, not seen alive, but
that was her original goal, right? Was to go to the library. So I think that's significant, because that's where she said she was going, and that's where she went, but then ended at the farm. So it's kind of it's an important piece of the puzzle. It's like
symbolic.
Symbolic. That's the word.
And we had a great turnout. I don't know, I would say at least 30 people. And George and I gave a presentation on our team's methodology, and then he and I talked through the 4 cases that we've been involved in together. And it's hard to cram 4 cases into like an hour and 15 minute presentation. But so we had a great presentation and signed for books, and then we went over to the fundraiser meet and greet that Melissa, you guys set up with the family, and man.
Yeah, how did that go? You guys were there. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend because of a prior obligation.
I was going to tell a small anecdote that I witnessed in that when George met Arvin. And George goes, "Sir, you sure have a nice head of hair for your age." And Marvin touches the back, like the crown or whatever. He's like, "Well, it's thinning a little bit." Oh my God, come on, man.
Yes.
I'll let Melissa, it was fantastic. I'll let Melissa talk about it. She did most of it.
No, it was definitely a team effort, and it was a great meet and greet, and we had it at the North End Tavern, and we had a really good turnout. I was really happy. I was happy to see the whole Petty family came out. And again, there was a lot of other families that showed up to support the Petty family. And it was great to see Mr. Petty interact with his relatives he hasn't seen, and just this really great community support, because there was a lot of friends and neighbors and people who have known the Pettys. The Pettys are pretty known around the town in certain areas because they've been there their whole life. So the support for the Petty family was very generous. And then what I loved was we were accepting donations for the raffle. And as I'm standing there putting together the stuff that, we had gotten, people would just show up. They were dropping off more stuff, like the community. Like, here's this gift card. Oh, the best one was like that Botox one. That was a hot item. I didn't win it. If I was in Parkersburg, I would have bet on it. But who won it was Tyler Mace, the nephew. He put all the tickets in that thing.
Perfect.
That's what he's going for. So Tyler Mace, I want to know how it's working. And that was a big deal. And even the bar, the waitresses were helping support us and were buying raffle tickets. And the bar owner himself donated a lot of things. So it was a really good turnout, and we had WTAP show up again. Shout out to WTAP. They've been fantastic with us, and they did a great coverage. And then we also had the Sentinel come out. So again, the community in itself just rallies behind the Petty family and hoping that they will have answers as to what happened to Judy. So it was a really good event. Jen, what's our total amount right now? The reward, what are we at?
We raised $2,500, so now we can increase the reward to $7,500.
Yes,
so,
just for that event.
And listen, this is from our bank account, a bank account we set up. This isn't like you have to pay taxes or something. So forward, and you have the information that leads to the arrest and conviction of Judy's killer. That's $7,500 tax free. I will write you a check, and that's it. You put it in your account. So, and nobody even has to know who you are.
Absolutely.
So just keep in mind, like, you don't have to be public. You know, we need your information, but we'll keep you completely confidential if we need to, if that's what you request. Maybe someone out there, 7,500 is worth it to them to bring forward that piece of information that we need.
I don't know. It's worth it to me personally. If I knew who did it, I'd make that money right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. It's tax free, but so I mean, that was a really good turnout. We sold more shirts, more Safe Haven shirts are going out the door. So just an overall amazing support of the Petty family. So I was glad we got to do that, and everyone got to meet each other. And then Sunday, we got up early again and went out and met with Doug out at the property. So Doug had never been out to the Petty farm. And when I was with him on Friday, if I have my days correct now, when I was with him on Friday, I had mentioned that we were going to go out to the farm on Sunday. And he's like, "Can I come along? I've never been out there and I want to see it." And I'm going, "Yes." Like,
you don't have to ask.
And I was just, I tell you, big heart for Doug.
Yeah.
I mean, just really, here's the thing. He's sticking by his word. So he said in the beginning, he has lived up to the whole way. And I said, "Absolutely, you meet us up there." So sure enough, he had on his boots and we walked up that lovely driveway.
Unless I want to say something about that. So this was almost I think we were one day off from the date that Judy went missing, right?
Yes.
So we're pretty much
Monday,
there. Yeah, Monday was 15 years. So we're one day off, but it was, the bottom of that driveway, number one, was so muddy. Like, I think we all got our shoes super muddy. Just getting around the gate at the bottom of the driveway, which Judy would have had to do in the dark. And then going up the driveway, there were several spots that were muddy and slippery. Like, there's once I did slip, I didn't fall. I caught myself. But it was that slick from that mud in some areas. And I'm thinking, how did she navigate this at night in the black? And that's still a question that lingers with me. But it was really good for us to experience what she did, even though we were there during the day. But the conditions probably almost identical, and that was helpful.
Yeah. And I think too, Doug, when I was walking up talking to him, he said, well, it might have not been like back in 2000, it might have been more gravel or more thing than it is now, but it's still, you can kind of see how it's very similar. You know, I don't think it would have changed too much. But one of the things that I took away is on the way back, or actually on the way up, we looked and there was this open field area. And we had asked Wanda, or she mentioned actually that they would take that path instead of coming up the driveway to bypass a lot of that mud or a lot of that uneven terrain. They would walk this field that's much easier. It's a field. And I said, well, that makes a lot more sense. And so we actually took that on the way back just to see how it was, because it was very different terrain. It wasn't as muddy, it wasn't rocky, but it was hilly.
Yeah, part of it was easier than the lower part.
Yeah,
connecting to the driveway, I thought was harder. It was so uneven and like it had really tall grown dead weeds and stuff, so it was hard to actually see their terrain even in the light. And so if someone had a flashlight, I could see it, but I'm like, in the pitch black, I don't know whether this would be a good way to get up or down from the property. I don't. I mean, I know I struggled coming down that area, and
I did too. I almost fell.
Okay,
yeah, it was rough. And I was like, maybe if you're going up, but still it would be uneven and pitch black. But you know, so we walked up the driveway again. The whole family's out there, and here's the thing: they're excited that Doug is here. I mean, for them, this is like a big deal because they never had this. Right. They never had really someone take this seriously and show like that they're really here to try to help. And so you've got Mr. Petty out there. Again, he wasn't going to stay home. So he was out there 3 hours before we did do some work out there.
Oh, no, a tree had fallen.
And, you know, it's like, what are you doing? It was really great for Doug to see the cellar, to see the house. Again, he commented on how small the cellar is, but how close it is to the home. So everyone's kind of shocked by those two things. if you haven't actually been out there.
Mhm.
And it was just a really good moment of everyone, again, talking, brainstorming, going over different things. Doug is asking questions because he's not been out there. And now he's like, well, now I have more, right? Because photographs can only do so much, like we all know. So we did that. And then we decided it would be good to drive the routes that Judy took. So, walk down the driveway, and I got the pleasure, or Doug got the pleasure of riding with me the whole time. So, of course, I don't know how he feels about that, but
the quote unquote pleasure of riding with Melissa in a car. Yeah.
You know that we went around together.
We did. We had to go get coffee.
Which was an interesting. Like, I don't know. That was just crazy. There's like no.
That
coffee.
turned into an adventure all in itself. Because everywhere was closed or everywhere only took cash, and it's like, I don't have any cash on me right now. And then Melissa got her wish and got Starbucks because that's what she wanted in the first place. And it's like, well, it's the only place around, so I guess that's where we're going. And then it was funny because, not to get too far off topic, but we were sitting in there and you're like, what do you want? And I'm like, a black coffee. And you're like, okay, just black coffee? And I'm like, yeah, just black coffee. But like, I have to go use the bathroom real quick. And you're like, black coffee? And I'm like, yes. And then you're like, what size do you want? Like venti or like whatever? And I'm like, I don't know, large. And you're like, venti? And I'm like, for God's sakes, woman, all I want is a large black coffee. That's all I want right now. And like, by the time I came back, the order was already done. But I was just like, I don't know what kind of stuff. I'm not a Starbucks guy. That was probably my second time in my life ever in a Starbucks. And I was just like, good God, just give me a black coffee. Like, that's it.
I'm sure you shocked the barista behind the counter too, because she's probably like, what's that?
Well,
I've never made a black coffee.
The one employee was laughing because I was sitting here telling her that, and he's just like laughing. He's some teenage kid, man. He's just cracking up. And I was like, for God's sakes, man, I just want a black coffee.
I'm like, oh, venti grande? What do you want? And my drink is so complicated.
Okay,
so you have to wait for mine.
Yeah. To compare, Melissa, you have to tell listeners what your drink is.
I know. I don't even know what it is. It has like 5 different names to it.
It does. Come on, go for it.
So I get a venti iced skinny caramel macchiato with soy milk upside down. It's not complicated.
It's pretty complicated. And it was funny because when we got back to the prosecutor's office, we were talking to the ladies who were working there. And, did you guys find your coffee? And it's like, yeah, I found mine. I was like, I don't even know what the hell she ordered. And the one lady is just like, you know what? I'm on the same page as you, man. Just give me a black coffee. That's all I need. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. And she goes, well, what did she order? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know what she ordered.
Well, now you know. You can write it up. Yeah. So
too many words to remember from me, but
definitely.
Anyhow, again, we drove a lot of these routes. Well, the main thing is we drove the route Judy supposedly walked. Because last time we had part of it right, but not all of it. So we drove that whole thing, and Doug was with us. We did that, and then we waited till after dark, and we went back out again. Melissa wanted to walk it, and me and George kind of said no. For your own safety. It's so I can't even. It's hard for me to even put it in words how dangerous I feel like it would be to be on foot on these roads. And I get it. I didn't grow up there. I don't live there.
And you posted that video.
I posted the one short one, and we have more, but it's just like blackness, I mean, I even struggled a couple times driving, and the rental car we had did not have tint, but it was like so hard to see the upcoming curves, even with headlights. It's so hard for me to fathom how a human being could walk that route without a light. I don't know that she didn't have a flashlight, but all indications were that she didn't. And how do you find your way around these hairpin turns and not fall off the edge? But we've got 4 or 5 sightings of her, out on those roads. So, and I don't think there's any other woman who happened to be walking out there that same exact night at the same time that match her description. So, like Doug said, well, I kind of got to go with the belief that she did walk out there.
Right.
And but
Everything
that
is lining up with that. You know what I mean? So we have to go with that, given how many people, and that it's showing her progression
yeah
as she's going, where Chris then picks her up.
yeah
You know, depending on that. So she did walk out there, and so we have to go with that. And so now we got to the point with Chris picking her up. But so
hmm
we spent, just to kind of wrap up Sunday. So we spent all day with Sunday with Doug as well. Went to dinner with him,
hmm
talked again, strategized, talked about, you know, what he felt out at the farm, all of these great things. And then Monday comes and we woke up early and we head to the station because we had some interviews scheduled for Monday already. So
yeah
we had Chris Cartwright, so the guy that we've talked about many times, who says he picked Judy up and dropped her off at the farm. And we had Cheryl, the sister of Judy, come in as well.
hmm
And those were the two on Monday, right?
yeah. And Chris
Yeah.
was scheduled for 10, and we get a call from Doug that morning saying Chris had called, saying he was at the emergency vet with his dog. And
Right.
so you and I were like, and Justin too, sorry, but
Oh yeah.
the three of us are like, well, crap, this is the day to talk to him. Are we not
Yeah.
gonna have the opportunity? But we went over to the prosecutor's office anyways, and like mentioned earlier, Doug, I had asked for a big map of, you know, the area going basically from where Judy lived all the way out to the family farm and these relevant roads there. And Doug had whoever's imagery guy print this map for us, which was amazing. I was like, we'll just go buy one at Walmart if a map exists anymore, but he had it printed. It was perfect. But we're kind of like, well, this sucks because we have to leave tomorrow. We really wanted to talk to Chris in person. And so Doug ended up calling him back and asking if he could come in the afternoon because we had time that afternoon. And Chris agreed.
While we were waiting for Chris to come in, you and Justin went out and talked to, you found James
Oh, yeah.
Bonnet, who blocked me.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's
yeah.
right. So me and Justin knocked on a couple doors. We found the bartender at the, what's it called? The Sundance?
I think it was
No, it's-
Sundowner?
something like that.
I keep getting them confused. I don't know why I keep mixing up the name. Anyways, James was supposedly the bartender the night that Judy went missing. We had just wanted to talk to him, like, what were the regular hours of the bar and the procedures? And, you know, he was super nice. He came right out on the porch and talked to us, no problem. And but unfortunately, it's been 15 years, and that Wednesday night was just another night, basically.
Yeah.
But he did say the owner of the bar, the normal procedure was that James had to keep the bar open at a minimum till 10 p.m. every night.
Yep.
Right. And
Absolutely.
then, like, if it was super slow, then he could close around 10 or 11. But if it was like hopping and busy, he said sometimes I'd stay open till 3:30. You know, of course, we asked him, what time did you close this particular night? And he doesn't know.
Yeah, and he was surprisingly came right out and just started talking to us, and you know there were a couple little things, you know, I wouldn't necessarily call them red flags, but there were a couple little things, you know, because we were like, oh, you know, Chris Cutright, and he like pretended like he had to think about it, you know, and it's like, bro, come on, man, you know, we already know, you can just tell us. But he was pretty honest about, he goes he's like, the earliest I would close through the week is like 10, and he goes, that's from the bar owner. But if something was going on, and he straight up said, he goes, we had something going on every single night in that place, whether
That's
it
right.
was this, that, or the other. He goes, so you just never knew, you know, what time you were going to close. And for him to obviously not remember a random Wednesday night, you know, that's understandable. I can totally understand that. But the fact that the earliest they closed was 10 also helped us, because that kind of narrows down our window of missing time from Chris Cutright to Judy. So, I mean, he did help us out a little bit.
He did. I mean,
Right.
that one detail is very important.
Yep.
Right. He
And
had a
it's-
phone call. So you didn't get to talk to him more about, you know, knowing Chris, or Chris dating his sister, or, you know, his reason for blocking out the case. Did he mention anything about Judy?
No, I
he-
mean, we asked what he remembered, and he had some vague memories of
Yeah, and he's
the
like,
case,
"Can you
but
show me a
nothing.
picture?" And I'm like, "Dude, she was not in your bar." And I showed him a picture and everything like that, and he goes, "Yeah, it doesn't ring any bells." And I'm like, "Yeah, because she was not in your bar, dude. Like, we just want to know what time you closed that night. You know, give us some information." But that was the only
he
part
and Chris
with
dated
me,
his
but-
sister. So
Yeah, for sure. And to be
Yeah,
honest with
yeah.
you, I didn't remember that detail, but I mean, me and Jen maybe had, I don't know, under 10 minutes because he had
Right.
gotten a phone call right there in
Right.
mid-conversation. So he had to take the phone call and he left, but he took the card, you know, and he said we could call
Well,
him.
and when he took that call, it was clear that he wanted to continue talking to whoever
Yep.
it was. He said to me, "Can I give you my number?"
Yeah.
And he did. So, I mean, that's good. Like, and he said, "You can call me."
And we
Yeah,
will
yeah.
too. Yeah. Because there's definitely a lot more questions that need to be asked of him to figure out get more insight into.
But I get it. I mean, 15 years ago, how do you remember what time he closed?
Yeah,
down?
no, not
Oh,
about
yeah.
that.
On a
I'm just-
I
weeknight,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
and then you
we
went and found Daryl Bunner.
well, we knocked on his door because he lives right basically down the street from that bar, and supposedly was a patron that night in the bar. He wasn't home, left a note and a card, and he called me just an hour later or something.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys were out getting coffee.
Yeah, we were
Oh,
out getting coffee, but you said he
So-
called you back, so
He called me. He called me back, and I talked to him for a few minutes, and he's a super nice guy. And basically said, "I wish I could tell you something that'd be helpful, but I just don't remember." He goes, "Yep, I would go to that bar all the time because I could literally walk there and walk home, no DUI, but couldn't remember really anything else. Judy's case was recognizable to him. That's about it. Couldn't really remember any details of it. So." Very nice guy, and sometimes that's how it happens. You make a lot of phone calls and talk to a lot of people. Not everybody has anything that's going to be helpful, but you got to try. And at least you can
Right.
check off the list. So
Right.
I was glad that he called back and we talked
Yep.
to him.
Because his
And
name
then-
was in the case file. So I think that's one of the ones we wanted
Okay.
to track down was to find out, hey, was he in the bar? Was Judy in the bar? What time the bar closed? He was another one besides the bartender, right, James? So
Yeah.
it was another opportunity to reach out. And so I'm glad that we were able to
Sure.
connect with him. And
Yep.
that's just another avenue that we did the legwork to find him.
Yeah. And again, for listeners, like if any of you used to frequent this bar back in 2008, just reach out to us. Like we're not going to, I know we kind of name names on this podcast, but if you don't want your name there, don't put it out there. But we'd love to talk to anybody that used to frequent that bar that year. You just never know what
Yeah.
detail you might remember that's helpful.
anybody
Absolutely.
that's reached out to us that says, "Hey, I want to be anonymous," we have not ever
Mm-hmm.
put your information out there or your name or anything, and that's a luxury that you have, So
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then Chris, we scheduled for that afternoon and he came in and
yeah, came in 2 hours early, actually.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, he did. He did. It shocked us. We weren't expecting him till 4, and he
6.
shows up at 6. That's right. He shows
Yeah,
up
and
at
he
what
came
time?
in at 4. Yeah, he came
Yeah.
in at about
And
4.
that's
We
fine.
were expecting him at 6.
That was actually
that
good
was-
because by what 6:00 when we came out from our second break on that interview, Justin's like, "I'm ready for a beer." And I go, "Me too."
I know. And me and Melissa were sitting here watching this computer like the first 48, just hanging out,
Right.
watching and just watching this whole thing. And Melissa over here is about ready to have a breakdown. And there's a detective behind us who's watching it too. And we're just texting stuff to Doug and Jen. Like, we actually didn't have that much to say to you guys, but there was, I think, one thing that Melissa texted to both of you guys at the same time, and Doug actually ended up asking it. But I don't know, it was productive, and
It was very productive.
Yeah.
it was extremely productive. And like when I came home, people were like, because I got friends and coworkers and even the bartenders at the bar I go to that are like invested in this now. They're like, "Tell us what happened." All I tell them is like, it was extremely productive. We got a lot done. I said some of the results were not what we expected, but they're still good results because we can exclude certain
Yep.
things. We can move forward on other things. We have a better understanding of the prosecutor's office, how they operate, how they work. We know that Doug is like 100% on board, and I was like, it was a great trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jen, walk us through. So this is all kind of how we strategize, and all the hours we spend is with every single person that we've interviewed. So it's not just Chris, it was with, all of the people we were going to talk to, is, who's the best person to go in and who's the best person to talk, and who, there's a lot of strategy that goes into things like this when you're looking at a cold case. And, we thought that Jen would be the best person to go in with Doug to partner up together to ask Chris questions. As many listeners know, there's a lot of things about Chris's story that doesn't make sense. There's things that have changed in his story. And so we were ready. We had questions. We knew what we wanted to get from him. And Jen, do you want to kind of not delve too much into it, but you want to tell us how that was, how it went?
Yeah, this isn't to like be egotistical, but for listeners who don't know my background, I was Army counterintelligence. The basic premise of counterintelligence is using human sources to gather information about your enemy. So it's interview and interrogation heavy. It's also heavy in language analysis, nonverbal behavior, stuff like that. And then I have a pretty in-depth background on that. And then when I was in Afghanistan for 14 months, and again, not being egotistical, but I conducted the most interviews out of anybody else in my position around the country in that 14-month time frame. And that was over 500 interviews of interrogations, local nationals. And my team there was responsible for vetting locals who wanted jobs on our base. And our job was to make sure they weren't part of a terrorist organization or an insurgent. And it wasn't just interviews. We did lie detector tests, other things I'm just not even going to get into. Just so you understand, like, that's my background, is that kind of analysis. But it's nice when you have a partner in the room with you, like Doug, where he can be questioning and I can be thinking and processing and thinking ahead, and how do we get to this next topic, stuff like that. And I'm not going to go into our tradecraft, but we spent, it was 2 hours, I think, with Chris. And honestly, we walked out of there and we're like, I felt way better about it. Let's put it that way. He looked us in the eye. He had very, very good nonverbal behavior. He didn't seem to really be avoiding topics. He seemed willing to give us his recollections as best he could. There's a couple things that we're pretty sure he said that are not true, but they're personal things, like the drinking issue. And maybe he wasn't drinking that night. Maybe he was taking something else, whatever. And we told him, we don't care about that. We absolutely do not care if you had been drinking and driving or taking pills or whatever. Doesn't matter. And it is really a moot point. But at the very end, Doug looked him right in the eye and goes, "Did you kill her?" And most people, in my experience, who have a guilty conscience or something to hide, first of all, they won't look the person back in the eye. But they will usually say, "How dare you ask me that? How dare you accuse me of that? Why would I do that?" I absolutely would never do that. And all he said, he looked Doug right in the eye and he goes, "No." And then Doug goes, "Did you harm her?" And he says, "No." And that was big for me. That was really, really big, because I've just seen so many interviews like I just described where the answer is something very, very different. And this is not hard science. It's very soft science. But I have a lot of background in this, and that was super, super important to me. And I also liked when we brought out the map, and I said, we're still trying to understand Judy's exact route and exactly where you picked her up. And I gave him a Sharpie and just put a mark on the map where you picked her up. And he was like, well, he's looking and he's squinting. He's like, "Well, I didn't bring my reading glasses." And Doug's like, "Well, do you want to borrow mine?" Just sort of humorous. And Chris is like, "Okay," so Chris puts his reading glasses on.
It was funny.
It's like, that could have given Chris an out right there. Well, I can't really see the map, but no, he immediately took his glasses, put them on, and then he marked the spot. I'm like, to me, that is positive. He was engaged. He wasn't leaning back with his arm crossed. He was forward on that table, scrutinizing that map with us. And so nobody can be clear at this point. Like you just talked about the family being moved from the list, but I feel much better about Chris after getting to talk to him in person and doing an in-depth interview with him. The biggest issue for me with him, it's not really him, but it's the timeline. Based on the sightings of Judy earlier in the evening. She was walking about 2.5 miles an hour. And if she kept at that pace, she should have been to the farm by 10 o'clock. But Chris is insistent that it was around midnight he picked her up. And I'm not calling Chris a liar.
He was very insistent.
over and over and over again. So the question now is, because this is a real possibility, that something did happen to Judy in those 2 hours that delayed her, and that he really did pick her up at midnight. And so that's now, I think, one key aspect that we all got to focus on.
Right. And one of the other things I think too is because Chris has changed from midnight to early. Like, I know we mentioned that in earlier episodes that he said he left the bar early due to a tough man contest. Tonight, he wasn't saying midnight, and he can never give us a time, right? He says, I don't know, I don't remember. But I think back, you're talking 15 years ago, and I think he got his days mixed up between Wednesday and Friday.
I think so too.
If you go back to 2008, which is the most accurate time of a statement, he said midnight. So I think I have to go with midnight and not what he told me as the bar closed early. So that means, if he left the bar at midnight, then he should have, Judy should have already been at the farm at that point.
And also, listeners, I'm not going to tell the exact details of my theory, but at the very end, I said, Chris, I'm going to tell you my theory. I go, I'm not from here, so I don't know these roads and stuff, but I have a theory. And I go, I'm going to tell you my theory, and since you're from here, I want you to tell me what you think. And I told him my theory, and he looked me right in the eye the whole time listening. Told him my theory, and he goes, that is impossible because I picked her up and dropped her off at the gate.
Yep.
You guys heard it. He was insistent through this whole interview. We gave him some outs that he could have taken.
Yeah, and he did
not take them. He continued to insist. He picked her up on Jericho Road, dropped her off at the front gate of the farm.
Yep.
Right.
And that's when Melissa had her breakdown. Is when towards the end she's like, I'm sorry, Melissa, I love you to death, but the look on your face was of sheer disappointment.
That was probably one of the most productive interviews of this entire case last 15 years.
It was insanely productive. Productive.
It was
even
insane.
Even Doug comes out of there and he grabbed the back of that chair and he just looks down and he's like, I don't even know what to think right now. Yeah, we're all in the same boat, man. This is I believed him, and for the listeners, it's hard for me to believe somebody. I didn't even believe Doug before I got there. You know what I mean? So sitting there watching this though, he was just like Jen said, there were so many outs he could have taken, and he was like, no, she was perfectly fine when she got in at this time. I dropped her off at the gate. She was perfectly fine. Okay, man. Like shit.
Over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think, for us, after finally getting to do that, because his name has always been mentioned in Judy's case, just because he puts himself with her as the last person that we know of that has seen her alive. And so for 14 years, this weight and this cloud has been over this case. And, we have to look at the last person, right? His story wasn't matching. There was a lot of things, inconsistencies. And I can tell you we can finally say he was actually interviewed fully for 2 hours straight, because the other interviews Chris has done over the past, and he's done polygraphs, 2 of them. One of the interviews was 30 minutes, right? So you're really not going to get a lot if it's 30 minutes. So the fact that we were in there with him and he didn't leave, he didn't, say, I got to go. He sat there for the full 2 hours. And I think that says a lot as well. And so, of course, once you walk out of there, you're thinking, now what, right? Now, where do we go with this? What does this look like? Not saying he just kind of moves down the list,
Yeah.
No one's cleared until there is an arrest. But where else do we need to go? Because clearly there wasn't anything that at this point that points further in Chris's direction.
Well, and I think it's important for the listeners to know, like, as soon as he sat down, he was told, you are not obligated to be here. You can leave at any time. And he sat there for 2 hours until we were done. And he did not leave. And the whole time I was telling Melissa, I was like, he's going to use a cop-out and get out of here. And he didn't. He sat there for 2 hours and just answered all the questions. He drew a map. or he drew on the map his route and where he picked her up and everything. And he knew that he could leave at any point in time, and he didn't. He sat there for 2 hours.
Yeah. And he volunteered to take a third polygraph.
Yeah, and he volunteered to drive Doug. He's like, he looks at Doug and he goes, I'll go out
That's
there
right,
right
yeah.
now and show you exactly the route that I took.
Same
I'll
thing.
show you
Yep.
where I picked
Yes.
her up. I'll show. He's like, I will
Yes.
go right now. And Doug's like, no, it's not. It's not necessary at this point. But
We already been out there.
I was blown
Yeah.
away, and I was like, this dude
Yep.
could literally get up and leave at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And he sat there for 2 hours until we were done. He volunteered for another polygraph. He volunteered to take Doug out the route that he took, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good overall outcome, sense of, our goal is to solve, and figure out what happened to Judy. And if Chris isn't, responsible or having anything to do with it, then we need to move on.
Correct.
Another way we can move on is if we spend this time and really dig in, which is what the family has always wanted.
Yeah.
So,
And we do have a lot of other leads that we are following up
Yeah.
on, and obviously
Oh,
we don't have to put
absolutely,
those out
yeah.
right now. But
yeah, right.
if you
Well, I
think
mean-
you're in the clear, you're not.
Yeah, no,
No,
you're not in the
nobody's
clear
in the
because we
clear.
have a whole list of people. And like at the end of
Yes.
the day, Doug is like, I will pull this person, I will pull that person. We're going to pull them in for interviews because it's like we were not doing tunnel vision on just one person. We have a bunch of other
No.
people that we're getting down to the nitty gritty with. But I thought Joan brought up a really good point when we were sitting there in the living room and, everybody is, we told him the news, and Marvin was a little bit upset at first, which is expected. And Joan straight up had the best point. She goes, if I spent 15 years accusing the wrong person of doing this, she goes, I would not be okay with that. She goes, we want the right person. We want to know the truth. And she goes, and that's why I'm not mad about what you guys told me today. And I was just like, woman, you are a saint. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, you are a
That's
saint
the
right
truth.
now.
Well, right. And I think the listeners have to know too. So, after we met and did, Chris' interview, we were going to leave the next day and we want to go talk to the Pettys in person, right? We wanted to go sit down and say, hey, we've been here all weekend. All the interviews that we've done, we finally brought in Chris, right? And had 2 hours with him. And we wanted to go sit down and talk to them face to face and share how that interview went, where things are and where
Our
we're
personal
going.
thoughts, yeah.
And this isn't over. And I will say this, I can totally appreciate Doug after we left on Monday or Sunday, was it? Monday.
No,
And
Tuesday.
he was giving
You
me a
left
pep
on
talk.
Tuesday.
I left on Tuesday. No, the day that we interviewed Chris. What day was
Okay,
that?
that was
Monday.
Monday.
That was Monday.
All right. So on Monday, after we interviewed Chris, I was riding with him again. He's so lucky. And he actually just was really giving me the pep talk. He's like, it's fine. It's fine. We have other things, the other leads, this is not done. And he's like, again, you picked the most crazy case where and so he was just giving me that, like, come on, girl, we got this. And I just can appreciate that he didn't say, well, I did what you wanted.
Right.
Now we're done. Right. Like he could have walked away and said, you were focused or you guys were all looking in this direction. That's not there. So best of luck to you. He very much was like, we've got this. We're going to keep going. I can appreciate his support.
Well, I thought it was funny because he said something to you while we were sitting there and we walked out of the office and it's like we were in the prosecutor's office for, I'm pretty sure a solid 8 hours. And
Most of the day.
when we walked out and he says to you, he goes, well, what do you think, conductor of the cut right train? And we're just walking and there's 2 vehicles and there's 4 people. And Doug's like, well, somebody can ride with me. And me and Jen already knew. It's like, Melissa's getting in that one. Like, we're going to have me and Jen are getting in the car. I know Melissa's going to want to. Yeah, it was amusing, and I hope the listeners can appreciate some of the lightheartedness of going out there because there were some funny aspects of it.
You
But,
got to
I
laugh
mean,
at some point.
you
because
have
this
to.
process is torture.
I don't-
It is,
Not-
but it just,
I don't think listeners
Yeah.
realize, like, when you're involved in something like this, and like a lot of my friends at work or like my personal friends, they're like, man, that shit's got to take a toll on you after a while. And I'm like, you have no idea. Like, you have no idea. You're sitting here looking at a
Yeah.
case that is no evidence, no witnesses, no nothing. And it's like we're working directly with the family, and it's depressing, it's stressful. And I'll never say that, we experience any more of that than the family already has. I will say that. The family's been
Right.
through the ringer for 15
Sure.
years.
Right. Yeah.
And but us coming in, I mean, we've been invested in this since probably September, I want to say. And
Yeah.
it's just it takes a lot out of you. So when you have those little moments that kind of make you laugh or lighten up the mood a little bit, it's like you got to appreciate them when they come around.
You have to.
You have
You'll
to.
lose your sanity otherwise.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Got to be able to laugh at things,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
Yeah.
and that we do a lot of that. And I think what's great is that Doug is like us in that way, right? So he's like, you're stuck with me, buddy. Right? So yada yada, I go the whole time with him and talking everything. So what I loved is that I said to him, well, we're going to go talk to the Petty family tomorrow and talk to them in person. And he's like, well, I want to come. And I was like,
Yeah. I was trying to
What?
give him an out because I felt
You
I'm like,
were.
"Man, this guy has been with us for 3 full days, dinner every night. We're leaving tomorrow. He's still at dinner with us tonight." And it's not normal for the detective to go meet with the family at their home and give them any kind of insight into what's going on. And I didn't
Yeah.
want him to feel obligated. Remember? And then he calls me after dinner. He's like, well, I kind of feel like you don't want me there. And I'm like, no,
Right.
that's not at all what it is. I just don't want you to feel obligated. And
He's
sure
so
shit,
sweet.
I mean, he is,
Yeah.
and sure shit, he showed up the next day with us.
he
and-
was before us. He's
Oh my
always on
gosh.
time. He's early. But
yeah.
what's so great about it is we're talking and I said, well, we're going to go and talk to them. And he's like, well, I want to go. And I was like, you do? And he said, yeah. He goes, I want the family to know how much work you have all done. And I want them to know that this isn't the end. There's still a lot more work that we're doing, that you're doing. And I hope they, can appreciate all the hours and the time and all of that. He goes, I want to be there to support, the team and the family. And it's just really kind of, and I talk a lot, but kind of speechless. It was like, wow. And he showed up and he was there as just an additional layer for them to know that we're all on the same page. We're actually a team. And he did not have to show up and could have just moved
For
on.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't have to go, and I think that goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about the fact that after that weekend, I realized this guy is 100% on board with what we're doing, and he wants to be there, he wants to be involved, he wants our information, and he was very complimentary, again, about the work that we've put in and the hours and stuff like that, and it said a lot about, first of all, the prosecutor's office there in Wood County,
Yes.
and it also
sure.
says a lot about Doug's character as a
Yeah.
person
Yes.
in general. He
Yep.
cares. He truly does. And I was very
Yep.
leery about that. And I'll tell the listeners again, I don't have the very best past. And my...
Well, that'll be another episode, Justin.
Right.
And share that audio of your
Yeah.
experience.
Oh, yeah. My experience with law enforcement growing up was not a fun one, okay? So the only time I even remotely conversing with any kind of law enforcement is if I'm working a case with them. And it's like...
Well,
and
we walked in, and Justin goes, past the alarms, and Doug goes, they're with me. And he's like, I've never had that before.
I know, I did too. I didn't even tell Jen about that. Like, we walked in and we're sitting there, and I'm like getting ready to get all the shit out of my pockets. And I'm sorry about the cursing here, but I'm keeping it light. But I'm getting ready to get all this stuff out of my pockets and put it in the little bowl, to go through the metal detector. And I'm still paranoid because I'm like, I'm gonna have to take off my belt. I'm gonna have to take off my shoes, like all this stuff, and I'm freaking out. And Doug's just like, oh, yeah, they're with me. And we just walked right around. And I looked at Melissa. I was like, that is the first time in my life that has ever happened. Like, ever. And she just started laughing. And I was like, it's kind of cool being on the other side of things right now.
Right?
'Cause usually when that happens, like in the past... I was in
that was
handcuffs,
priceless.
and I was not allowed to go around, so it's like,
No, we should have taken your photo so you could frame it first time.
I know. And it was funny because every time we'd walk out and walk back in,
Yep. Yeah.
the security guard's like, "Oh yeah, just go, man, it's fine." And I'm like, "God, this is so awesome! This is so great."
Maybe next time they'll give us a badge.
I know, right?
I did
Tell me
ask
about
Doug for a gun, but he just
it.
left.
Didn't he give you pink handcuffs or something?
Oh, there was a lady detective who had pink handcuffs. And I was like, oh, can I have those? Can I look at those? And so she took them out and I was like, oh my God, this is a dream. Yeah. So that was interesting. So I think that's pretty much our trip wrapped up, right? And then we all left on Tuesday.
Yeah, I stayed a little bit longer than you guys did. You guys took
you
off,
did.
and I hung out for about another hour or so with the family and talked to Marvin and Kelly and Wanda and everybody out there in the garage. And, I mean, we were having a good conversation. And, I mean, Marvin and Kelly both, and Wanda even, they were like, you know, what is your honest opinion right now? And I told them. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but here's exactly what I think, and here's what I thought about the interview and the time here that I spent. And I love that family because they appreciate that. You know, they don't want sugarcoated. They don't want to tell them what they want to hear. They want honesty. And I mean, Kelly at one point was like, Justin, you guys are here for the truth. And we just want to know what happened to Judy.
Yep.
And it's whether it's what we want to hear or what we think might have happened, that doesn't matter. It's we want the truth. And Joan said the same thing. And it's like, that's one of the 10 million reasons I respect them so much. And Marvin, I mean, he was a little upset at first, when we were in the living room, but by the time it was all said and done, he was cool. He was cool as hell.
He gets it. Yeah, he gets it.
He's just thinking about it. And I think the family, just like us, had to process that, because for 14 years.
They're still frustrated and they're still stressed
right,
and they're still upset. Like there's, well, I think it was in the very first interview we ever did with the Petties. I said, listen, there's no such thing as closure. You might get the answers and solve a case, or you might get the truth and it not be a crime or whatever the case is. But I was like, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as closure, because there's still that thing missing. There's still that hole there. So I don't know. They were just very, very nice. I love it.
And I think that was one of the main things I was concerned about is you just never know, right? When you have your idea of kind of this top person and then you kind of come back and talk to them through it, you're kind of like, oh, are they, how are they going to take this? And they just went through the same kind of process that I feel like I went through in the sense of, okay, that's not kind of what the outcome or thoughts, right? But it's like, that's kind of where we're at now. And like, well, what's next? And I was really worried about that because, we all care for them so much and you're just trying to do your best. Like you said, Jen, it is good news. I mean, it's progress. And and Mrs. Petty was like, I don't want the wrong person. And I don't know, and Kelly said the same thing. So that just reassured us, like, we're all still in this together and on the right track. And so, kind of summing this up moving forward, Doug told me in the car, we're not done. We actually have quite a few of other people that we are reaching out to and talking that their names have come up. And we just had to talk to Chris so that we can move him up or down, just like in any investigation. And if we had to move him down, then who's up now, right? And so because his name was the forefront, we had to interview him the way we did first. That's where we're at right now.
Like for all the law enforcement agencies out there that are like, oh my gosh, if we release the autopsy or the fire department record or the case file, it's going to jeopardize the case.
Oh, no.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Because we have everything, literally everything that Doug has in this case. And miraculously, it hasn't been jeopardized.
Oh, exactly.
And I'm so sick and tired of hearing that from these agencies. And I get it on a brand new homicide, understood. But when we're talking 15, 20, 47 years, I won't name the case. Let people help and know what they're doing.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's like, that's why I thought so highly of Doug when he straight up told us, we don't have the manpower and time to put into this case like you guys have. And I was like, that takes a lot to admit that. Sure. And he was just very, very honest and open. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like Wood County is very open to us.
I
mean,
really
there was
enjoyed the prosecutor too.
yeah, the prosecutor too. He came
was
right
great.
in there, and I asked
Yeah,
him a few
talked.
questions and stuff, and he was just being very open and honest. And he goes, "Here's the deal.
Yep.
Like, even if you guys get this, I still need this to,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know, even
Sure.
bring it to trial or anything." And it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's the stuff that is invaluable, and that's
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like we know what we need, we know what we can't use, all of this. And again, just productive, very informative weekend. Glad we're able to raise more money for the reward fund. Tyler, I didn't get to hang out with him at all, unfortunately, but it was nice seeing the Petties again and being able to be in Parkersburg. My experiences there have always been good, so, you know, I appreciate the community and the prosecutor's office.
And
They're
again,
very highly thought of too. Like I'm very highly thought of Pat in his office and
Yeah.
that he hired Doug. And
Yep.
to me, that is the model, right, of how
Yeah.
this should go. And
this is
both of them.
exactly the vision.
Yeah. So
They're being
Mhm.
Yeah.
proactive about a situation. They're like, we have an opportunity to where 4 people can put all these amount of hours into one single case when we know we can't. And they're just, I think they're being very progressive and very proactive
Yes.
about the situation.
Yes.
And like Doug said, this is the first time anything like this has really been a thing. You know, he's like, so
Right.
he's on the same page as us. It's like we're getting into this for the first time, and so are they. So, you know, we both had our reservations, but I think moving forward, even however long down the road, I think it's going to be a great partnership. And I was just happy that it turned out that way.
For sure. It's been awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, when you mentioned the reward, it reminded me that me and George were doing our presentation at the library. Someone brought up the fact that there's like a $65,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Gretchen's killer.
Yeah.
And ours is only now $7,500. So why would we think $7,500 would do any good? And so I explained to the audience, here's the difference. So Gretchen's homicide is I'm assuming it's a homicide, very, very new, and whoever killed her hasn't said a word about it.
Yep.
In
Give it
Judy's
time.
case, guarantee whoever is responsible for this, they may have not made a full confession to a friend or family member, but they've mentioned it. They've done something weird. There's some red flags, something to provide an indicator as to their involvement. And so that's why a lower reward fund may actually be more effective in Judy's case than in Gretchen's. And I hate saying that about Gretchen's case. It's just the reality.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
Gretchen's case is in the media every day. It's fresh. That person knows, like, they just got to keep their trap shut for a while. But in Judy's case, the opposite.
No, I agree. And I think the big thing about Judy's case as opposed to Gretchen's is we all strongly believe that more than one person is involved.
Yes.
And unless one person dies, somebody said something, somebody else knows something. We even talked about that with the prosecutor and with Doug as well. I think we're all on the same page about that. So, like you had said, it's the reality of the situation, and what listeners need to realize is that every single case is different. There is no two cases that are exactly the same. So you have to approach them different ways. Is $7,500 for a 15-year-old cold case? I mean, come on. You know, what more
and you
could
don't
you
even have
ask
to be
for?
known.
Yeah, exactly.
right. And
So-
and to keep in mind too that, and that's what I was saying earlier, you can't compare Judy and Gretchen's cases and
I
then
know.
also the reward fund like it's any less. No, it's that nowadays there's more media attention. There's more going on that can help increase Gretchen's reward fund. The Petty family got hardly any coverage from around the world when Judy went missing, right? Whereas Gretchen is everywhere. And not to, say that shouldn't be the case, but Judy was not. So, there is differences between now and 2008, and that's just how things are, unfortunately. But we've worked our butt off to increase the reward fund, and I'm very happy with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
50%
I don't
higher.
think.
It
Right,
says a lot
right.
about the
And-
community, too.
Yes,
sure.
Like I said, I
Agreed.
was not there, but I was like, the fact that the community pulled together, and I mean, we had like maybe 3 weeks notice, maybe
Right.
a month or so, like not much at all. And it's like these people pulled together. There were people there. The news was there. It says a lot about the community and what they either thought of Judy or thought of, hey, you guys are out here trying to do this. Like, I think that's awesome. Let me donate $100, or
Exactly.
something like that, or $20. And it's like, dude, any amount helps. You could donate one penny. It all goes to the reward fund. And it's like, it's the thought that counts. And it said a lot about Parkersburg. So I do got to give a huge shout out to the community for sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we talk with the prosecutor and Doug about if there's 2 people involved and one comes forward?
Yes.
Their honesty will be taken. We can't guarantee immunity. The fact that you come forward and your honesty will most definitely be taken into account.
And as long
we
as
did ask Pat that.
But the fact that they were open to that says a lot right there. It says a lot, because he's like, dude, if you guys have somebody who saw something and they were there, and he goes, that's a huge, that's what we need. Yeah. So, yeah.
If we got to hunt you down, Doug's got to come knock on your door and figure this out and put you in cuffs, you ain't getting no deal.
No, there's no deal. No,
they will throw the book at you, and we know that.
Yeah, just confess and go, like, tell your side of the story or whatever, and like it'll be a done deal. But
great, yeah, that helps.
My whole mindset has changed on the prosecutor's office in Wood County just after my personal experience with them.
I think that they don't get a lot of credit either. I think because it's harder on the outside, right? It's easier to kind of point a finger, but all the work that they're doing, I will say, in Parkersburg and Doug and the prosecuting attorney, they are really doing a lot of work that a lot of people don't even know they're doing.
Absolutely.
And I think credit's where credit's due. So
definitely.
So anyway, so that's where we're at. I don't know when our next episode is going to be coming out. Right now, we're still talking to people, interviewing people that their names have come up or people have given us information on. So when we have an update, when we have something that we want to put out, we'll come back on and record another episode.
Yeah, and just like we told the family, it's like, we're not done. Like we're kind of at a stagnant point right now where we're collecting more information on people in general, trying to go a little bit different avenues. So we're not done. We're not going anywhere. Still join the Facebook group. Get involved in the conversation. You can still hit us up on Facebook or whatever and give us tips.
Yeah, and not unfortunately, but the stuff that you guys are moving forward on now with Doug is not something that you can publicize.
No, absolutely not. And that came from an anonymous tip. I will say that. And when we told Doug about it, he was very interested in what we had to say. And we don't want to release any of this publicly at this point. Because it's very, very sensitive right now. So we're still moving forward. We still got a lot of stuff going on, but it's kind of quiet right now.
Yeah.
We can't really say
It'll
much
be quiet
right
on the
now.
waves.
It's quiet on the airwaves. We can't say much about it. So
yes, and I'm also looking into. We're talking about getting a forensic or what is it called, Jen? A forensic
toxicologist.
Toxicologist.
See why? Cut that, Justin.
No, I'm keeping that in.
No.
Forensic toxicologist.
Yes.
No, but you have to say the whole sentence now so Justin can put it in.
What am I saying? Oh, we found a forensic toxicologist who is going to help us out in analyzing the toxicology report from Judy's liver.
Yes. And
help us and Doug understand whether it's worth submitting the liver tissue, which they still have. It is preserved. Whether it's worth submitting it to an advanced toxicology lab for new testing.
Yes.
And so we're going to have that conversation with this person, and then we'll see how we move forward from that, because new testing might provide a more detailed look at what was actually in her bloodstream and organs at the time of her death.
And that's one of the good things about these cases, and like, not to get off on a side note, but with the work that I did in Lawton, Oklahoma, that was one of the things. The police departments, a couple of them, kept evidence because they knew that one day the technology would catch up. Even though it didn't at that point in time, the technology is always evolving, it's always developing, and that's the advantage of keeping evidence or tissue samples like this, because we can do further tests and we can find out more detailed information, which is pretty important to us right now.
For sure.
And also looking at speaking to someone regarding who's an expert, maybe in diabetes, or a doctor or nurse practitioner, somebody like that can give us more insight into how diabetes can affect people, depending on what type you are. And so we are doing all these kinds of things in the background, but once we have something to share with you, we'll definitely come back on and release an episode on that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for joining us, Jen. I know you're busy. I know you're busy today and made some time, and I appreciate it.
Thanks for all your hard work in this case.
Yeah, we're trying.
Me and Jordan have done it. So.
Well, I'll have some more time to get into Linda's case now. So, by the way, Jen, why don't you tell the listeners, if they're into crime and ongoing investigations and real-time crowdsourced investigations, tell them about Linda's case and where to find you guys.
Yeah, if you like this format that Justin and Melissa use on the podcast, which is not real time, but it's as close as it can get, you can also tune into a podcast called Break the Case. It's produced by one of my employers, American Military University. But me and George head up our university's cold case team, and we are currently working on the case of Linda Malcolm. Also, Judy was murdered in 2008 in Port Orchard, Washington. And season 3 of Break the Case covers our investigation into Linda's case exclusively. And we just dropped episode 1 last week, and we have a lot more episodes coming. We also utilize social media, just like Justin and Melissa do for Judy's case. And if you want to follow our progress, you can join our Facebook group for Linda, which is called Unsolved Murder of Linda Malcolm. And we welcome anyone and everyone to please join, give us your ideas, your thoughts, follow along. Like, if you have some expertise in a certain area, please let us know, because that's the beauty of crowdsourcing. So
absolutely
would love if you guys follow us too.
The more brains working on cases, there's about 280,000 unsolved cases right now in the U.S. alone. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and this is why we do 2-person teams and try to help each other out and support each other. So
soon there'll be 286.
That's what sucks. Every year we had about 6,000 of that number.
I'm taking one down. We're gonna solve Judy's.
Okay.
All right, because you said 286. I'm like, you gonna go out and take 6,000 people out right now, or what?
I go down. My number didn't go down.
I was like, come on back, Melissa. Bring it on back.
Okay.
You're tired, ain't you?
It's past my bedtime.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say she's tired.
It's past my time.
All right.
Cut all that.
Oh,
all right. Good
I
night.
don't know. I probably won't.
All right, guys.
All right. See you guys
All
later.
right. Bye. Kisses.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.